finger bowl, brush, pusher, file. You want a cotton or a lint-free wipe to make sure we can take off any old polish. Some cotton, orange wood sticks, nipper, clipper. These are our buffers, gloves. You can have acetone or non-acetone. If you have acetone, it's going to eat through these gloves, so you might have to grab an extra pair of gloves, okay? We're a latex-free school, so all the acetone eats through our gloves. If you had latex gloves, it wouldn't eat through the gloves, so. Cuticle remover, our lotion, oil. This is what's gonna go into the finger bowl, okay? So before we put water into that, we're gonna pump a pump of the cool blue into our finger bowl, and then we have our polish in our bag taped to the side, so anything that's going to be thrown away can go right into that bag so it's not crowding up our work area, okay? Questions on the setup? Oops. Maybe? And we are going to do our consultation. So you're going to grab your partner's hands and you're gonna kind of look over her hands, her nails, fingers, palms, make sure there's no cuts, no abrasions, nothing that's gonna affect us giving this manicure, okay? If there's any open wounds, any sores, anything like that, we would maybe have to refrain or at least skip one of those fingers, okay? Her nails look pretty good. Everything looks like we can continue. So now we're gonna ask the question of, how is the length for you?
Good.
Good. There's not much there, but we could, so it looks like you were taking these nails off. So really what our goal would probably be would be to even out those free edges, okay? Do you have a particular shape that you would prefer?
No.
No, maybe just like a little bit more square them off a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Squoval maybe?
Yeah.
That's kind of, so a lot of times if you look at the shape of your client or your partner's cuticle area, kind of following that shape is what's gonna match their finger, okay? Not that anybody really ever has like a square cuticle area, but she has a very rounded cuticle area. So rounding off those nails or squoval would be a really nice shape on her, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So what we're gonna do first is you need to make sure that you pull your client's arm wherever it is that you need their arm. I don't want you leaning over the table, and I also don't want your partner to have to lean far over the table, okay? So these are not very, it's not very comfortable with this giant thing here, but try to get as close to the table as you possibly can, okay? So now that we've done our consultation, if she wanted any of the length off, we would clip those nails. When you're clipping nails, you need to make sure that this is open. She really doesn't have any length for us to remove, but I want to just kind of go through what that would look like. If you're going to remove any length, you need to make sure that you're securing that finger in between your thumb, your pointer finger, and your middle finger. And when I grab that finger, I kind of pull back on those nail folds so I can really see that nail plate, okay? You also need to really be mindful of where that hyponychium is. And the hyponychium is where the skin and the nail connect. If you look underneath your fingernail, you'll kind of see that meaty part where the skin and the nail connect. If you clip that accidentally, it's gonna bleed everywhere. I've seen it happen, it bleeds a lot, it doesn't stop, it can be kind of scary, but when you're clipping a nail that has a lot of length, I suggest that you come in at the corner, clip the nail, round it out at the other corner, clip, and then what happens is you create like a little point for you to remove without having to go in and be afraid to clip that hyponychium, okay? So it also helps to take off the pressure of that nail plate if we come from corner, corner, and then hit the center versus coming straight in at the center, okay? All right, so now to file. When you guys were filing your fake nails, it didn't matter to me if you saw it back and forth or how you created that shape. That's okay on a fake nail. On a natural nail, we need to make sure that we're filing from corner to center, okay? So corner to center. And like I said, here, we'll move this out of the way so I don't feel like you're gonna spill it. Okay. We're securing that finger, coming in, corner to center. So that file is straight on with that nail, okay? Pull those nail folds out of the way so you can really get to that free edge. We're gonna work pinky to thumb because that way you can kind of get all of the other fingers out of the way as we come through and work corner to center, okay?
If you're left-handed, would you go still pinky to thumb?
I would, but maybe start on the opposite hand. In the book, it says you should start with the left hand. It doesn't matter to me what hand you start with, okay? Whatever's comfortable to you, go ahead and grab that hand and start working. I mean, it's not like, for state boards, you're working on a fake hand, so it's not like you can start right or left and those thumbs don't move. So if it's more comfortable for you, are you left-handed? And you need to start with a thumb, it's not the end of the world. So try both ways and just kind of see what works, okay? All right, so we're filing corner to center. Once we've done one hand, we're gonna let that soak. And the reason we're gonna let that soak is because we wanna make sure that we're softening up that cuticle so it's easier for us to push back and nip, okay? While this is soaking, we would do the same thing on this hand, okay? If there was any length to remove, if there was any nail polish to remove, we would have had to remove the polish. I forgot that stuff because she doesn't have any polish on. But if she did have polish on, you'd wanna make sure you use this lint-free wipe, acetone or non-acetone, and really making sure that we're removing that product before we would file any of that nail down, okay? All right, so we're gonna pretend that we did this hand. Remember, we're working from pinky to thumb. We're filing, how are we filing? Are we sawing back and forth? No, how? Yep, corner to center, you got it. So I don't wanna see any of this going on, okay? Like I said, it's okay on nail extensions because they're fake nails and they're a little bit harder. Some people have really soft nails, especially after, if we're soaking them and then having to file them, they can get really soft. And if we're sawing back and forth, that could rip, that could tear, and it could cause damage to the nail plate, okay? So as we're doing this, you're always guiding your client or your partner's hand, okay? Don't ever just like leave their hand up here and then let it go and just let it fall and move to this opposite hand. We always need to make sure that we're placing it down if we're gonna move to the opposite hand, okay? So we're gonna pretend we filed this one. So we're gonna take this out of the water and switch those hands. We're gonna dry off those nail plates, loosen up that cuticle the best that you can. You're gonna apply your cuticle remover. You're gonna do that with a cotton-tipped orange wood stick, okay? Everyone asks me, Sarah, why can't you just get Q-tips? And I say, because this is more fun. So we're gonna make our cotton-tipped orange wood stick by taking some cotton. It's like making cotton candy, kinda. It's like swirling cotton candy around the stick. So the orange wood stick comes into like the center of the cotton and you wanna kinda lift that cotton up and then you're just gonna swirl it around until you have enough cotton in there. Yes, I know it would be easier to buy Q-tips, but this is more fun, right? You can do one end or you can do both ends, doesn't matter to me. You need this to apply the product and you also need these cotton tipped orange wood sticks to clean underneath the free edge. So I would say 2 to 3, especially if at the end of the service after the polish, you can also use this to clean up any polish that might have gotten on the skin, okay? You don't wanna use one that has cuticle remover on it or that you've dipped in the water. You want a fresh one for each time that you're gonna use it, okay? So, if you remember back from the video, which seems like a lifetime ago, but it was just on Wednesday. When we're working with cuticle remover, you really wanna focus just on that cuticle area. So, we're gonna place our cotton into the cuticle remover and we're gonna come through and place that only on the cuticle area, okay? So trying really hard not to get that on the skin because we don't wanna dry out the skin, create any dryness or cracks through that cuticle area. You're gonna let that sit for about 30 minutes or 30 seconds. Wow. Yeah, we're gonna be here all day. So while that's sitting, I'm gonna dry off her opposite hand, and I'm gonna apply that cuticle remover. Okay, now we're gonna take our pusher. We're gonna come back to that first hand. It doesn't really matter to me what side you use. If you felt like there was a lot of cuticle, like through the round of the eponychium, you could use this pointed one, but this flat one is gonna work so much better because we can kind of start about 1/4 of an inch away, and we wanna push back gently towards the eponychium, okay? So it's easier for you to come through with that nipper and remove that cuticle. You don't have a lot of cuticle at all. I don't want you to start all the way at the tip and push down, because what we're doing then is scraping that nail plate, okay? So really all I want is for you to kind of clean out those nail folds, push back that cuticle. If you feel like it's dry and you need to apply more cuticle remover, go right ahead and do that, okay? Ask your partner as you guys, we're gonna go through and knit, okay? So, everyone tells me this is the scariest tool ever. It's not really, I promise you. It's kind of beveled on the side to help us glide through that nail, okay? So we can round out with the cuticle. So again, we wanna make sure that we are pulling those nail folds back, placing the nipper right on the nail plate, and we're gonna open, maybe. Hold on. There's nippers in that drawer that blades should touch, okay? If they don't, and we can't make it work by securing these two things, it's probably on its way out, and we can just get rid of it and grab another one, okay? So we're gonna come through, open and close, and I'm using that beveled part to push back the live skin and really open and close and work through that cuticle area, okay? So you can see I'm starting to pull it up. You should see a little bit of debris on those blades. You never wanna close and pull. We wanna just keep opening and closing until that skin is off, or that dead skin is off of that nail plate, okay? So we're opening and closing all the way through to remove any of that debris. Really get in those corners. If you needed to come back through and push, the nails were really dry, you definitely can do that. So I'm not gonna go through and remove all of this because I want her partner to have something to do, okay? But if we take a look at those nails, all of that white buildup is what we're going to remove, okay? So again, we're just opening and closing, working our way through that cuticle area. You never wanna pull any live skin. Just keep opening and closing. Like I said, if you're like, okay, I've been opening and closing for 10 minutes and nothing's happening, come back through with that pusher and just lift that, okay? So then we do the same thing to the opposite hand. We would go through, push, and nip all of those cuticles, okay? Brush those nails, okay? So I'm gonna dip my brush into the manicure bowl and I'm gonna brush down. So we want to remove any of that debris, any dead skin that might be left on those nails, okay? Okay, so now we're gonna buff and bevel. We're gonna take our buffer and you're just gonna work side to side, okay? Just buffing out that nail plate. Hit the free edge. If you felt like there was still some cuticle, you could take the corner of this buffer and just kind of buff through that cuticle area, help lift up anything that might still be on those nail plates. And we're buffing those nail plates to really make sure that that polish is gonna adhere to the nail plate. We do the same thing on the opposite hand, okay? And then we're gonna clean under the free edge. So we're gonna make our cotton tipped orange wood stick. We're gonna dip it in the water. We're gonna clean under the free edge. That free edge and rocking back and forth. So now we're underneath that nail plate and moving corner to center, okay? Also, if they don't have a free edge, you can't bevel. So, coming underneath, lifting it up. If there's any nail, any debris, anything that might be left underneath there, beveling is gonna get that out, okay? This is a lot of oil, I'm really sorry. So we're gonna apply to all 10 fingers and then working pinky to thumb, we're gonna massage that oil in, okay? Then you're gonna come through and do your massage. If at this point you wanted to take your gloves off, you totally can, totally up to you. Giving a massage with gloves on is kind of hard, but your call, okay? So anything that you're not going to reuse at this point, I would throw into this bag. Just kind of get it off of your work area so it's that much easier for you to do the massage. Okay, like I said when we watched the video, it's totally up to you as to how you, oh, is this gonna come off? As to the type of techniques that you'd like to use. We do have to know 2 first aid boards, so effleurage and petrissage are gonna be your best friend here. Effleurage is, we're gonna apply that lotion by warming it up in our hands, and then we're just gonna glide back and forth over their arm and their hands to apply that lotion. This would be effleurage, okay? You can go all the way up to the elbow if their clothing allows. Okay, we're gonna pull her a little bit forward, and I want you to, can you bend your elbow and put it, yes, right there. Okay, so in the video, they got real personal. We're gonna hold hands with our partner, and we are gonna rock that wrist back and forth. Start to kind of loosen up that wrist, okay? We should do each movement 3 to 5 times, and your massage should last 3 to 5 minutes, okay? So now we're just gonna move our hands down the arm, loosening up the arm. If at any point you need to grab more massage lotion, please do that. Now I'm gonna make circular motions with the pads of my fingers on her palms. So you kind of wanna see those fingers spread out as we work our way up. You have the cutest little hands. They're like so tiny, I love it. So we're working our way up and sliding down. If you're trying to hold the wrist like this and it's not working out for you, you can find a better way to hold it. So a lot of times I like to place it like in my middle finger and just kind of let it rest there as I use my thumbs to work up and slide down. I'm gonna do the same thing on the top. Slide down. So if you feel like you're really rushing through your manicure, this is the part where you should slow down to kind of bring that time to where it needs to be, okay? Now I'm gonna make finger circles. You can do figure 8s, you can do circles, you can bend them back and forth, whatever feels good to you, okay? Usually you're having a conversation with your client or your partner, so I mean, you don't need to like stare into their eyes as you're doing this, but having that conversation, or if you're working on a client that's just trying to relax, if you guys are just silent and you're zoning out and just focusing on your massage movements, that's okay too, okay? I know I'm not supposed to leave her hand, but I did. more. Okay.